Hey everybody, thank you very much. We appreciate you. We want to welcome you back to the Cali Current Podcast, episode number 27. With your host Ish
and your host Grimace.
And today we're gonna get into a little bit of something that people can possibly relate to when they're in their possibly early 60s, late 60s, late 70s, early 70s. It doesn't matter. We're all gonna croak someday, but eventually, right before we do so, we're gonna have to retire, right? So what we're gonna talk about is that. How in the world are we going to do, or what we're going to do in order for us to facilitate that, and or because the only reason why I'm saying so is because right now that I'm working with a teacher and or an educator that is going to retire basically in a few days, actually at the end of this week. And my point being is that she doesn't care. She's going to travel the world. She's going to do all she wants. And what does that leave to the rest of us, you know?
Travel the world, but I mean, not to talk smack, but how old is this teacher?
She's very, very, very young. She's probably in her late 60s, maybe early 70s.
You're calling late 60s and you associate with the word young?
But it doesn't matter because of the fact that by the time I get to retire, I'm probably going to have to be 75 or 78 because that's, you know, that's what's going to require when this, I don't know, the administration, not this one, the next one or the following one is going to require for me to retire maybe at possibly 82. By then I won't even be alive or whatever the case may be. But I think that the older we get, the more the retirement age gets pushed back. That's the way I've seen it.
It does get pushed back, but one thing I will not associate in the same sentence is 60 and young. Okay, me, when I say like a young retirement would be like age 34. Like Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimmer. I remember he's like, I'm going to retire. And that fool was like age 34. I was like, damn, okay, you know what? That's when I want to hit the retirement.
Okay,
like,
but that's not realistic.
Call it quits from my
because not everybody has 6 or more gold medals in how many, you know, Olympic games or whatever. You know, nobody can do that. He's going to live off of the endorsements for the rest of his life. He's going to make millions and millions and millions of dollars. Nobody has that luxury. Only he does because he's the only one that's called Michael Phelps.
I mean, I wouldn't say only he. I would say people that have mastered their their craft at an early age.
Yeah, but He did it at 2 different Olympics within 8 years of each other.
Yeah,
at the very most.
He's the Grand Olympian. I believe he's won the most trophies or the most medals for the country. So when you make that many, yeah, then.
But all of us are not going to have that luxury because, like I said, right now the retirement age is 65, give or take, but it's getting pushed back to 67. And then sometimes or whatever, I hear that it's going to get pushed back to 72 years old. And it's like by then it's like, you know, what are a lot of people going to do? I don't even plan on getting to the age of 62. So I'm 10 years over the 72 mark. Well, I'm not going to get to 72 or whatever the case may be. So I'm not even looking to retire at 72 because by then I'm not even going to be alive possibly.
So you think you're going to die like in a sporadic event?
I'm not
like
saying
a car
that I'm going to
crash,
die.
A plane crash,
No.
a
I'm
jet
saying
ski,
that it's most likely that I'm not going to make it to age 72 because like who plans that far ahead?
Me?
I'm 48 right now, and I don't plan on retiring for another 25 years. So
that
makes me at 73 right there at minimum.
I mean, I'm down to go biblical and get like to 200 years out of this body. I mean, I know a lot of people croak like at 100,
dog years?
120.
You're talking about dog years? Because
human years spins around the earth, the sun, alleged.
You realize how old Moses was when he died? He was about 400 years old, give or take.
That's what I'm saying.
But that was because, you know, before God chastised and before he basically punished everybody for walking around in the desert for 40 years and they finally became, you know, whatever, the chosen people and they landed in Israel or whatever the case was. They were punished by God for 40 years. That's why they were running around the earth. That's why 40 has a lot to do with everything, especially because of Jesus, you know, and 40 days, 40 whatever, you know, everything you want to call it.
Well, yeah, I mean, nonetheless, to retire early is the goal, or be able to do stuff. Like if you retire, say at 60, like your friend or your coworker, At 60 years old,
Okay.
how is she able to like still go for a run? Is she still able to use the gym at wherever she goes traveling? You said she's gonna go travel.
I'll be lucky if I'm
Is
gonna
she
be
gonna be able to
erect
hit-
at 72.
Is
Like
she gonna be
erect,
able-
and I'm not talking about my,
Can she
my
full on use
my
the whole
unit.
gym at
No,
the foreign
exactly.
countries? all
Okay,
that she
but
goes to?
first and most important thing, I want to say this. This is gonna go a shout out to my friend Dago because he's always said this when I was
¿Qué onda, perro?
when we were like 12, 13 years old, and we're in junior high. He's like dun 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 dun. That he was obsessed with that beat for some reason.
I don't
He
know. It
doesn't
sounds like a
remember
nice
it.
beat. What
No,
song
no,
is this?
dun 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 dun
Like the
dun
Root
dun dun
Storm?
dun. But no,
The Roots Sandstorm?
oh no. Okay, look. No, but I want to say something too. Because when I was in seventh
Vampire
grade,
Hunter.
when I was in seventh grade, and I had a friend named Victor, he always used to do the chicken dance.
Lean like a cholo.
No, he wasn't dancing. He was doing the chicken dance, like the chicken dance, like that. Yeah, he was. I'm not kidding you guys. I swear, he did the chicken dance, and it's like the only reason why I witnessed this is because he was at his sister's quinceañera in like 1993 ish, and it's like, damn, okay. I'm like, damn, okay. Like, people really dance for that? The only reason he danced like that is because he was with big-ass pecs, with big-ass arms, and he couldn't move his body, and he was trying to do funk dancing. I'm not going to say his last name because he knows, he remembers me. I don't have him on Facebook. I don't have him on any type of social media. But my point is that I wish I were that buff so I can do the chicken dance like that.
I mean, you could do it. You don't have to be that buff to be doing the chicken dance. You could do it any way you want. But yeah, when you put it that way, I mean, I guess it is like a chicken dance, mother trucker. But I mean, so it's not always about the money. It's about the purpose when you retire. Like, if you don't have like a daily structure or goals when you retire, like then people lose a sense of identity because a lot of people you identify as your profession or career probably because you spend so many hours doing that than the whole 8 to 5, 9 to 5. So when you retire, you gotta watch out because you get caught up. Like, I'm no longer XYZ profession, and then you disassociate from it, and then boom, that's when the body withers away. Like,
Okay.
there's this theory, like when mother truckers that retire, and I've seen like real life people, like they like the old school homies, customers, whatever. They hit the retirement age or whatever, and then it's like their sense of identity was lost in the profession, so they retire. And then now they're no longer in that profession. So probably like subconsciously their mind is just like, you know what? I'm no longer, if they retire as a teacher, like your home friend, she's no longer a teacher. So now she's like, oh, subconsciously she's not a teacher, but she only identifies as a teacher. So then now once she stops being a teacher, then it's like, poof. Then her body starts to shut down. Same thing with any other profession. Like if it's a construction worker or a mechanic, a landscaper, it's like, oh, I'm no longer that. I don't have to do that no more. I could just stay home and just watch TV. Then subconsciously their body's just like, oh, we're not a worker no more. So
Okay.
then everything else starts shutting down and boom. Then they start
Okay,
getting
look.
all these like body killing ailments.
There's this saying that says, or that goes by the way, it's a saying, all right? It has nothing to do with the way I feel, the way I think, the way I see things. But there's a saying that says the number one killer of old age is retirement, right? So, and me and you, or you and I, were talking about this earlier today when we were driving to go get some things at the local, big store, supermarket or whatever. And it's like we're saying, what is your dad going to do when he retires? Because he technically doesn't want to retire. But like you said, he was in denial about retiring, right? So it's like, okay, well, he probably wants to work till he's 80. But realistically, your dad's what, like 67?
I believe so, but
Not to call him out or anything, but
No, yeah.
but your dad's relatively young, and that's why I say young. I think anybody under 80 is very young still because they still have a lot to give to life. They don't want to retire. They want to be active. They want to be proactive.
Well, the good thing is that he's aware of that retirement age killer mentality thing. Like, he's aware, like, Because he's seen it too. Like people that we know, like that retire. And it's like, oh, dang. Like, you know, his homies or like older people that he knows. And then, so he's aware too. Like when people retire, the body will wither away. And which I believe to be subconsciously. So
it's a mental thing too, because my dad, he's been retired for like 5 or 6 years already, right around COVID, give or take. And it's like he has to keep busy in terms of keeping his mind busy, but also keeping his body not fit, but keeping it a little bit laborious, because he has to like do things around the house, like, you know, mow the lawn, you know, whatever. Like yesterday, he put a lot of things away at the garage or whatever, or he organized it. And it's like he has to do that to keep his mental acuity there, you know? And I would assume that that's what your dad is possibly afraid of. That it's like you say that he's in love. And I'm sorry, Theo, you know, I love you, you know, whatever. Your dad, I love him no matter what. But it's like he doesn't want. He's not going to give up the shop, but eventually he's going to have to give up the shop. And not because he doesn't want to retire, but because he has to. Because at some point, it's like the shop, you know, will outgrow him. You're not going to take over the shop, right? I mean, of course, but I don't know what you're going to do with your life. I mean, if we keep the podcast, we're going to keep the podcast on a daily level. But, you know, your dad has to find something better to do in terms of with his time when he's not at the shop any longer.
I mean, I really don't know. Really, it's just God's plan.
He's going to have to deal with reality eventually.
Really, it's just God's plan. And, you know, either way, I'm down. Like, you know, whatever God sees fit. I mean, shoot, I'm down to ride with it. But what I would say, it's not really about, like, riding down with a ship mentality. It's more like being able to transition. So it's not like we need to rethink retirement as not an end, but a new beginning. And I think he's also aware, like, yeah, eventually, you know, the wheel's going to stop turning, but you just got to be ready to, like, you know, switch gears to something else. So it's not an end, but more of a new beginning.
Okay, look.
And if you see it like that, then you could, like, train the body to, like, not wither away.
Okay, look, and I'm only going to say this as a true practicing Catholic, because I try to be. I'm not perfect. Sometimes I forget to go to church. Sometimes I forget God in general.
Damn.
I'm being real. I'm being honest, because a lot of people go through that mentality.
You sound like the fake Latinos always here that claim Catholic.
And I'm not saying that I'm fake.
They call it lackadaisical, but it ain't lackadaisical. Y'all's just whack.
I still pray. I still pray my rosary as much as I can when I'm not going to church. And not because I'm mad at God or anything like that. God is always there. Jesus is always there. The Virgin is always there. Point being is that I was going to give an example of how you can go away from church, religion, whatever, but God is always waiting for you no matter what. Point being is that I don't know what I was going to say. Thanks for losing my train of thought, I guess. Keep going. I don't know what you want to make with this point. But I know, I mean, my dad, like I said, to give an example, my dad retired about 5 years ago. And if he's not sitting in the front porch just watching his phone or videos or whatever the hell he's doing, then he's bored out of his mind, you know. And sometimes he lives on hours on end. And the only reason I know this right now is because I'm living with them, and not because I want to live with them, but because I'm separated and I still have my wife, but I'm not living with her. I haven't been living with her for a few years. And I'm only being real with you, you know. And it's like, well, you know, your mental state has to still be there. And I'm only saying this as a true practicing Catholic. Like the Pope didn't want to stop being the Pope. He stopped being the Pope because he got sick.
Which one? Oh, the original one that died.
The last one. I'm not talking about the new one. The new one is still fresh. And I'm talking about Pope Francis or whatever his name went by.
So you're not talking about the Papa Americano?
No, I'm not talking about and that sounds like the song, right? But anyways, but the point is that the previous Pope that passed away, you know, rest in peace, he stopped being the Pope because he got sick. And that's the thing. We will never stop being who the heck we want to be, because the only reason that's going to stop us is either sickness, either mental health, or death, period, you know? And that's my point, you know? And I think that that's what we're getting towards, is that people will not quit no matter what they want to do, because they always want to see something that's going to keep their mind, keep their body, and keep their soul satisfied or something. That's the way I see it.
Well, yeah. I mean, definitely. Like I was saying, it's just when you retire, just be ready to transition to something else.
Just be ready to do the chicken dance.
What the hell? There's no damn chicken dance.
Chicken dance.
That's
my friend Victor.
That
from
seems
1993.
like if you
back in the day. At his sister's quinceañera, I remember.
That's like if you cue the funk song, like.
Okay, but I give a shout out.
All day.
I give a shout out to my friend Eloy. He lives in Fort Myers, Florida. He inspired me to be a DJ because back then he was DJing himself, but he was helping his brother Damien be a DJ. Eloy, what's up? You know where you at, homie? I know you're in Fort Myers, Florida. Peace, shout out. I love you, bro.
4 Mile, damn. Was it
Fort Myers, Florida.
Oh, I said 4 miles. Like, was it like 1/2 of Detroit of 8 Mile type? I don't know. Anyways, so
no, he was DJing at the party at the quinceañera, and he was still spinning records back then. And I only wish
were they
I could have been a DJ.
records? Anybody could spin a record. Were they
no, he was
both.
He was doing a lot of things. He's an original DJ. Actually, check him out. He has his. I guess he has not his label, but he has his. He spins on his own. He spins his own beats. His name is CalCast. CalCast. His name is Eloy. CalCast. Okay, look for him. CalCast on YouTube, Spotify, or whatever, any format. He's on there. He's doing it. He's the original DJ. He's the reason why I wanted to become a DJ.
All right, I'm gonna check him out.
I envy him. He's 1 year.
No,
he's young. He's 1 year younger than him, but he spins his own beats. In Fort Myers, Florida. Check him out. Eloy Calcast Chingon Castro. That's how he goes by.
Let's talk about bucket list. Retirement is a time where you're supposed to be able to check off the retirement bucket list dreams, right? So how many of the retirees actually would you think actually have a bucket list?
Well, the teacher that I work with,
does she have a bucket list?
She says that she's going to go to the beach first. I would assume either Acapulco, Cabo, Mazatlan, whatever. It's just It's a Mexican beach somewhere. She said she's going to travel with her husband and her 2 puppies. She has 2 dogs. Me, for myself, I want to do all the baseball stadiums in America. I think that would be the best bucket list retirement ever. Besides traveling across the country with my wife and my dog, whoever, Hopefully it's my baby Gracie, in that day. I mean, if this podcast brings us fortune or whatever the case may be, it could be 5 years, it could be 10 years at the most, but hopefully I'll still have my Gracie by then.
Okay, so the research of grownhealth.com says, here's a kicker. Only 15% of retirees only have a bucket list. So can you imagine not even 15% of the people that retire plan it out. Only 15% actually have a bucket list. I mean, I guess you could say that there's a potential that they do retire and plan it out. They just don't have a bucket list. But really, if you have a bucket list, that shows that you're ready to retire. And even with those that have the bucket list, many of them don't even pursue with the bucket list due to financial constraints or health issues, mobility issues. So, I wouldn't say I have a bucket list, but I guess I would fall into the category that says, did you check out your bucket list? Do you have a bucket list? It'd be more about things that I want to do. It's not like when I was 12 years old, it's I can't say oh, I want to, my bucket list is drift car race a Toyota Supra. At 12 years old, you can't be drift car racing Toyota Supras. Now,
yeah, you can.
Well, I guess
really?
You're right. You could.
We want to go to Talladega one day, right? You and I, we're both gonna make it one day, right?
Yeah.
That's not a bucket list thing.
They already passed this season, so next season.
No, I'm just saying next year. Somebody just gave me something to look forward to. Actually, everybody knows. Everybody knows that I drive the big 2 rideshare companies. The guy said that he used to take his kids all for the 5-6 years when they were younger to Comic-Con here in San Diego. We're literally 90 minutes away from San Diego, possibly a little bit less, maybe an hour at the most, 80 miles at the very, very, very most. So it's an hour, 20 minutes. And it's he says, oh yeah, I used to go to the, the whatever, the, the unveiling or the whatever, the pregame or whatever the case was, the first day of Comic-Con where they do the special exhibition or whatever. And it's like, dang, that's something that I have to go to because now I'm a collector. I collect stuff. I collect DC. I collect Marvel. I collect, whatever. And it's like, that would be a bucket list thing right there. I got to go to that. We or us or as a podcast, we have to go to that Comic-Con San Diego 2026, baby. That's my new bucket list right there. Number 1 right there. So what is your first on the bucket list right now?
I mean, on the bucket list, I guess just travel somewhere nice.
It's coming up.
Or a 3-way tandem and a drift would be nice. That means I would need 2 other people who could drift their vehicles alongside my Supra, like in a nice tandem.
First things first, we're going to go to Vegas, Supra nights in Vegas or what? Supra, Toyota Supra. He loves Supra, by the way.
So I'm basically dependent on a teamwork effort. I mean...
I love and hate
teamwork. It's kind of like when I used to be in football and wrestling. I love wrestling because I only depend on myself. But football, I love football too, but then I got to depend on teamworks. I mean, that's what it's about, I guess. What about yourself? What would you say?
I'm not a big Supra fan, if that's what you're trying to convey. Look, everything has whittled down to whatever can be afforded. I used to get supposedly free nights Sunday to Thursday at a certain Vegas Strip hotel, but that's not going to happen anymore, especially in this economy. So I don't know what what do you want me to say? I don't know what's on my bucket list anymore. What do you want me to tell you? I'm looking forward to... my wife recently just told me that she wants to go to Niagara Falls on the, what's it called? On the New York side, where's that? Buffalo, New York side, right? And then she wants to drive on to Martha's Vineyard. Not drive up. My suggestion was to drive up to Martha's Vineyard, but she wants to go by via train. So we're possibly going to do that. That's another thing on the bucket list. But I want to take my wife for that. So I want us to do something where the Cali Current Podcast is going to do a what's it called? A vlog, a video log or whatever. Vlog. So what are we going to do next? Are we going to go to Texas? Are we going to go somewhere else? What do you think we're going to do?
Texas sound good. Even the baseball game, Angels game, we could vlog that.
That's next to the Dallas. I've been to the stadium outside, but I've never taken pictures inside. Texas Rangers.
That's why it's so crucial to start ticking off like all those dreams early. Like, don't wait till you retire to be like, oh, I'm gonna go play the piano once I retire. Oh, I'm gonna be a violinist. Damn, you know what? On Saturday, I went to I think it's a place called Casa del Sol. They had a mariachi. They had like a quartet of violinists. I had not seen a quartet of violinists. That was pretty badass, I must say. Some well-versed or well-skilled violinist as a mariachi. I haven't seen well-skilled violinist in a mariachi in a minute. That was bomb.
Speaking of pianists, I know a 7-year-old girl.
I was speaking of violinists.
And no, but you said piano, right?
Yeah, piano. They didn't have a piano there, but yes.
There's a 7-year-old girl, a 7-year-old Asian student that I used to work with, who is freaking good at the piano. So you know what I told her today when I saw her at lunch? I'm like, blank, whatever her name was. I'm like, she was really good. She's only 7, and she plays like she's like freaking, I don't know, 20 years old. She's that good. And I'm like, hey, so-and-so. I wish that I'm like, I asked her first, do you want to be a pianist one day? And she's like, yes. She nodded yes. Because she's very shy, but at the same time, I get why. She's very reserved. Very smart little girl. I'm like, if you ever become a professional pianist or if you want to be one, she said yes. Then I'm going to eventually, if you become a pianist, I want to see you live. I want to pay to see you live. So I'm going to be proud of that little girl if I ever go to one of her shows. Because if she's only 7 and she's very talented already, imagine how good she'll be at 20 years old or whatever when she's fully on, all over the piano like she's a professional, like she's been playing for years. She's that good. She's really a smart, real girl. She likes to read books, like big, thick books already. She's 7.
I mean, ideally, yes, but people with that amount of skill and talent, maybe she might want to focus her endeavors into programming.
She said,
this is the peak of her skill as a pianist.
But since I was in her class, she said she wanted to be a doctor because she wants to help people.
There you go.
And she's that smart. She will do it.
Yeah.
I know she will do it. Whatever she ends up doing, she's gonna do something good for humanity. And that's the great thing about kids nowadays is that they know what to do. And it's like us as adults, we don't even know what we want to do when we retire. Okay, so thank you very much, everybody, for listening to Cali Current Podcast. This is your host Ish.
So yeah,
we're gonna keep going.
Grimace, but anyways, so what we're talking about is working to the grave. Like, you want to keep living. You don't want to just retire. And is retirement even possible? Like, working to the grave. Like we were saying, a lot of people put their identity and livelihood into their job. When they retire, they die. So does that mean you're just gonna work till the day you die?
Okay,
to keep up that persona, which some do.
Okay, but in this country, basically, we're running out of choices, especially because of inflation, because everything's going up, because of price of goods, because of price of commodities, because the price of everyday things that we consume are going up no matter what. Remember, we have a mutual person that we know that passed away about like 8-9 years ago, Arguello Renato, right? And he died. Sorry to say, he worked till the day he died. He was selling ice cream out of he wanted to be busy the whole time. And if he didn't work here in the United States, he worked in Mexico. He worked to the bone no matter what. He passed away, and no matter what, he stayed busy until he was like 90-ish. And no matter what, he worked himself to the bone, because in Mexico, you don't have those type of options where you can retire at 72, at 73, whatever the case may be, in 20 years when I retire or whatever. But, it's like, okay, well, it just depends, Is like, do you want to do the chicken? Who wants to do the chicken dance one more time?
Did he ask you for the mother trucking chicken dance?
Chicken dance, yeah, baby. Funk Town, 99 bottles, but you know what? Ain't one.
You could work to that time, because, I mean, as of 2024, 22% of Americans age 65 and older are still working. That's literally double the percentage from 1987. And it makes sense, because I'm pretty sure people like that also would stop back and realize and be like, whoa, if you retire and just say, I'm going to chill, then that's when you're going to check out. Like,
I'm 48.
Wither away.
I'm 48 right now, but my goal is to hopefully retire at 60, period. Especially if this podcast does great, because all we can do is shoot the podcast daily if we have to. Right? I mean, that's the whole point.
Yeah. So, it's versus if you retire at age 62, that increases the odds of dying by 12%. As opposed to retiring to age 65. I mean, then again, the authors of that research could be just like people that want everybody to keep working.
I used to write essays in college when I was about 19, 20, 21 years old about getting to the age that I'm at right now. And so far of everything that I've written, everything's technically coming true, or whatever the case may be. I might still have those papers somewhere hidden somewhere. I don't know, whatever the case may be. But it's not like to say that I know my own future, but I know that that I might not make it past a certain age, but I don't have the luxury of retiring at 72, 73, 74, whatever the case may be when I'm that age. So, point being is that I don't live for tomorrow. I live for today, and you should too. And you guys have a dream, follow it, chase it. Make sure it comes true, and it will, because I've seen so many underdog stories where these people, where kids nowadays is like, or where young people, like, they were shunned by a certain group or whatever, and they became millionaires, and that can happen to anybody. It doesn't matter. You just got to dream big. You got to believe in your dream, and no matter what, follow it.
Yeah, well, I would say the same thing, but just to make sure that you stay on it, and if you do retire, just have a plan. Because you don't want to have it short-lived and then you just retire and then your body withers away. So it's just like, just make sure that whether you're retiring, you got to make sure like stay active, continuing the work, and most importantly, find a process because a purpose. Because if not, then that's when the body starts to wither away.
So thank you very much for following the Cali Current Podcast. This is your host Ish and Grimace.
Yes, sir.
And we're gonna do the chicken dance before we go. Thank you very much. Please don't forget to like, share, subscribe, hit that bell notification. Sound like a Russian. Hit that bell notification button.